Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm back for video number 2. I know I said that I was only going to be posting like once a week, but I'm home right now for Easter break from college, so I got to see all my family, and we went and had some Easter dinner, brunch, lunch type thing. So that was pretty cool. I got to see everybody. Yeah, so I have a lot of free time on my hands right now because I'm not at college. I'm just kind of hanging at home, so I figured I'd take advantage of the opportunity and make some more videos. So this is actually going to be more of a serious topic. I decided that, since this channel is about me being transgender and kind of my, life experiences and everything I went through, I'm going to share my story. Kind of beginning to where I am now. I mean, I might forget a few things that will come up later in videos and whatever, but I'm going to do the best I can to sit down and give you kind of a compact version of my coming out story. So, where to begin? Well, for most of my life, I lived in New York. And I was born in a little town, kind of central New York, and I lived there for, probably, kind of in and out until 5th grade. And in that time, I grew up in a trailer park, for the most part. And it was a really small trailer park. Everybody knew everyone, so all the kids would play together in the trailer park, and everybody was a guy, except for me and the neighbor that lived behind us. So I always did what was stereotypically boy things. So mud pies and playing in the road. We always played cops and robbers on our bikes and stuff like that. And it was completely normal for me. It was no big deal. So I started going to school, and I could feel that there was something about me that didn't match stereotypically how I was supposed to be as a young girl. I wasn't into the Barbie thing, whatever. And I know this is all very stereotypical. I understand gender rules are garbage. So this is just kind of my perspective and how I grew up. And my parents never treated me poorly. They always just kind of treat me as a person. So I got to wear whatever I wanted to, act however I really wanted to. And I actually had a lot of pressure come from my sister. She would ask me when would I start being a girl? When am I gonna dress like a girl and start being interested in girl things? So that was kind of hard, and that's when I was okay, maybe I'm not doing something right. But I was always really uncomfortable in identifying as a girl, and obviously at a young age I didn't really know what any of that meant. So in 5th grade we moved to Maryland, and a lot happened while I was in Maryland. My dad stayed in New York, and so my mom, my brother, and I were living with my aunt and uncle and her kids. And it was a really challenging time for us. We didn't see my dad a lot. My mom was working 2 jobs, so I barely ever saw her. My brother and I were all that each other had. We didn't really have friends at school. And we supported each other through anything and everything we had. Around that time, I started feeling really disconnected with who I was. Not only because I didn't understand what was going on in my family and I had no control of my family, but I didn't have control over myself and my decisions and who I was supposed to be. So I started dealing with self-harm, and I didn't tell obviously I didn't tell anybody about it, and I wasn't really open to any sort of aid or help from anybody. So we moved from Maryland back to New York at the end of that year. So 6th grade I started going to the high school that I graduated at, and the self-harm was continued, but it wasn't I kept it under the radar. And my brother found out one Christmas morning, and he kind of brought it to my mom, and my mom made me go get help. And honestly, that's why I am where I am now. But I had always felt, I don't know, something was wrong. That's the easiest way for me to explain it. There was a complete disconnect from who I was to who I wanted to be, and it started making me really angry. And everybody in my high school knew who I was because I was a bitch, pretty much. Nobody liked me. I had 3 or 4 actual friends who stuck with me through all of it, which bless their souls, because I was a really awful person. I went through a time in my life where my brother and I weren't even really good friends, which is crazy because when I tell you that my brother is my best friend, he's my best friend, and it's been that way my entire life. So there's a point in my life where he couldn't even tolerate me, and I was alright, I don't really know what's going on. And I started freaking out, and I couldn't stand living with myself. I hated talking about myself in any way. I didn't take care of myself by any means because I didn't see a point. I was I'm not happy, this isn't who I want to be, so why am I even trying? when my mom found out about my self-harm and I started going to counseling, that's when I started learning about kind of like what being transgender was. And I only heard the term one time, and this was in like 7th or 8th grade. And I started telling one of my friends, I was like, hey, I think I'm transgender. And they were like, what are you talking about? And that was it. I freaked out. I was like, no, never mind. Like, that's not really a thing. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I ran from it. And from there until my junior year, I continued to take my hate out on everybody else. I was going through a lot at home too with my dad and my mom in their marriage. It was on the rocks a lot, kind of really back and forth, and Xavier again was the only person that I had, so like props to him for being the person that he is. So I kind of fell apart emotionally, mentally. I couldn't do anything, and my parents saw it, and my mom did anything she could to help me, and it just wasn't working. So this went on for a couple years until I hit my junior year of high school, and I was 16. And somebody who had graduated from our high school had come out and started transitioning. And so I kind of read more into it and looked it up, and I was like, holy crap, this is my life. So I messaged them on Instagram, and they were pretty much like, yeah, I've been waiting this for the past year and a half. So it was kind of weird for him to say, like, oh, hey, like, I saw these signs in you, but also it made a lot of sense. So my junior year, I started transitioning. It was not easy by any means. My brother knew, like, he was one of the people that I told back in like 7th and 8th grade. I told him and one other person, and his reaction was, like, I could not have been more thankful for it. I walked into his room and I was like, listen, dude, I need to talk to you about something. He's like, okay, yeah, whatever. He's playing video games, and I was like, no, pause your game. Like, this is a serious thing. I need to talk to you. So he stopped and he's like, all right, yeah, what's up? And I told him that I was transgender, which meant I was his brother. And he was like, okay, and went back to doing his thing. Like, holy shit, okay. But it wasn't like that for everybody. When I told my friends, I had a lot of them that were just like, yeah, okay, like, no big deal. Like, I had a pretty good friend support group at that time, so I had like 4 or 5 people who stuck by me, like, beginning to end, and then I had other people who were in and out. So the friend support was always there. As far as my family goes, my dad walked in on a conversation that I was having with my brother in the bathroom, and that's how I told him. He walked in, he heard us talking, and was like, you don't get to leave until you tell me what's going on. So I freaked the frick out. I had a panic attack. My brother, like, pretty much held me while I was crying and freaking out, and I didn't know what to do. And then I told him, and he said, okay. And then he said, go tell your mother. So I walked down to the kitchen, and this is like 1 in the morning, and I told my mom. And she said, okay. And then I went to bed. My mom didn't talk to me for 3 days, and I was terrified. And then she came to me and she was like, Hunter, I love you, and that's what matters. And she's been nothing but supportive since, in any way that she possibly could. My dad was fine for a little while, and he went through his breakdown, and I'm not gonna lie, he freaked out. He got really upset and was like, oh my gosh, I have this daughter that I can't tell people they're my daughter. Like, she's so beautiful, but I don't even get to say that anymore. And he was distraught. And my parents actually told me at one point, it was like they were mourning my death. And that's really heavy. That is a lot to take in, to face, to accept. And I was like, what am I doing? Why am I hurting them like this? Why am I putting this on them? So I was ready to back out again. But my brother was like, listen, you know who you are. You've known who you are. You have to embrace it. So I kept going. And my parents came around, and to this day, they support me in anything and everything that I do, and I couldn't be more thankful for the family situation I'm in. My dad's side of the family is a lot more open to it than my mom's side. I don't talk to a lot of my mom's relatives right now, but, you know, it is what it is, and I love them, and I know that they still love me, and that's what really matters. This is about the time where it started getting really, really hairy at school. And of course, it was junior year, so our junior prom was coming up, and my friends wanted to vote me prom king. And I had no idea this was happening, like, no idea whatsoever. I didn't really, like, advertise for it. It wasn't really something I wanted to do. And then my grade freaked out, and I had over half of them, like, fighting against me. And they were like, no, you can't do that. You're taking the opportunity away from other people. You don't deserve this. You just want attention, like, all of that. I had, like, death threats, like, coming to my home and, like, in my email, and that was threatened to be beat up in the, like, boys' locker room or the bathroom if I was ever found there. And I was honestly afraid for my life. So we brought it to the school board. and I had to have a school board meeting about my rights, like just general rights. I had to, I fought for, to use the bathroom in my high school. I had to fight to go pee in my damn high school, but like, whatever. Been there, done that, it's okay. The point is, the gender-neutral bathrooms now exist at the high school that I went to. And there are policies to protect trans kids in the sports system and like general anti-discrimination rules that the high school follows. And I ended up being able to be voted for prom court. I came in technically 6th. There was a 3-way tie for the last 2 spots on court, and we had a 5-person court. And then I ended up losing in the tie, which is fine. But like the point is, I was there, and it was a stepping stone. There was also a newspaper article written about me and the board meeting that we underwent, and kind of like what my parents said and how the school handled it and where we went from there. It wasn't easy. From the beginning, the board was like, we can't take any immediate action, we can't do anything about it, so go ahead and talk, but we don't really know what's going to happen from here. And then next thing I knew, like, they were bringing somebody in from the Pride Center to talk about, you know, transgender discrimination and bullying and the rights that the LGBTQ community has as a whole. So I went from having nothing to having a really good support system, and there's actually regulations sent out for sports to not only my high school but other like surrounding high schools that were in our sports district. So I have to say that my journey has not been easy by any means. I am so happy that I've been able to make the impact and the change that I have, and there's definitely, without the support from my brother and my parents, and my sister. My sister. I told my sister, and she didn't really know what was up at first, but she was like, okay, yeah, like it took her a little while to come around, but she did, and she still loves me and supports me as well. And without those people there to support me and build me up and keep me motivated, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I can tell you that my brother saved my life, literally saved my life. And I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys if it wasn't for him. And I can't stress enough how important it is to find that support system and take them in wherever it may be. And when you don't have that support system, you find other people and you search for groups and people that want to be there to support you. If you're struggling in any way, I am here to support you. I know how to get resources, and whatever you need, I would love to help. You can direct message me on Instagram. My Instagram name is the same thing as my YouTube channel. And I just want you guys to know that you're not alone, and it's not going to be easy, but it's worth fighting for who you are. I'm happier now than I ever have been, and I'm more confident, and I'm proud of the person that I am now because I fought for my rights and fought for everything that I have. It's worth the fight. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Send a like, hit the subscribe button if you want more videos, and I'll be coming your way later. Signing off.